back to the channel, and today a review for this, The Prophet of Edan. This is a new release, it's just come out. Now this is available now digitally and in this trade paperback, nice floppy trade paperback. And it is by Philip Chase. It is book 2 of the Edan trilogy. Now this is an epic fantasy. This book comes in at 592 pages as far as the story goes. And it is classic epic fantasy. Now, what I really enjoyed about this and what was quite noticeable from the outset is that unlike book 1, which I felt really was like a labour of love, and there was that labour element to it, you know, the world building had to be established, the characters, you know, had to make sure there was plenty of time to kind of get to know the characters, to kind of put them on a sound footing going forward. In this book, it is very much like the story is just pouring forth from the author. And almost maybe the attention now has to be towards editing it, to making sure that it is got some punch, that it is packaged well, because it just feels like the story is flowing now, and that is really good to see. It doesn't kind of suffer from that middle book syndrome because of this. You know, it feels like it doesn't want to take its time. It wants to get out onto the page, and that really comes across in this one compared to the first book. Now, the historical influences are still there in this, a lot of the naming conventions like before, but also this campaign that has emerged in this story now feels more like the Crusades. It feels much more historic. One of the later battles under the walls of a city in the kind of in the heat. It feels almost like the Iliad, where you've got, you know, shields and spears meeting, great men, great deeds, mourning great deaths. And a lot of those influences really come out in this. And the dragons, more than anything, feel almost like the atom bomb. They're like a kind of an enormous threat to civilizations, to any opposing armies. They're used almost like the Luftwaffe. You know, they can decimate cities and are a real threat to civilians. Now, I would say The Prophet of Edan is almost a better book in every way than The Way of Edan was, and it would have scored extremely highly for me. In fact, it would have been a contender. I think this book had the ability to be. If I had one criticism towards it, I feel like the ending was packaged a bit oddly. The kind of last 50 to 80 pages, it kind of felt like an extended prologue that was it was cut up into chapters, where it felt it really didn't need to be. In fact, it almost felt like it was, instead of a prologue, it was almost like the epilogue to book 3. But because it was so long, then maybe to cut it and spread it between 2 books, that will feel a little odd to some people and it's still high quality, but it might feel a little bit odd coming off of kind of climax of the book, or what might seem like the natural ending point to the book. It makes it almost feel like, oh, was there an ending here? Was there another part of the story that had to be told in a 3rd book? And that's why this ending is it kind of a bit stop-start. But I mean, it doesn't really detract from the actual journey of the book. This still feels like a fantastic adventure. It still feels like a better book than the first book in the series. In fact, I'd actually give this book a 4.3 out of 5.